that kind of gets us towards coping strategies. Definitely, I'm with you. The screaming, the crying. I have taken pillows and beaten the bed or the wall. Depends on what the emotion is that I have to express. But I've kind of over the last 5 or 10 years had the motto of that I need to feel everything in as close to real time as possible. And I plan to talk more about some of the science of emotions a little bit later on in this program. Hopefully we get to everything this weekend. And so as far as the coping mechanisms, well, real quick before I get there, I think that empaths are misunderstood by people who don't have that experience. And I think that we can be labeled as crazy. And if you get into the specifics of that, if you actually do go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, those labels might become something more like anxious or obsessive compulsive or bipolar. There's just any number of labels that can describe what it would look like from the outside to someone who's not an empath watching us have kind of a meltdown, because we've taken in all these emotions from individuals and groups and our nation and our planet. And, time is not linear. So sometimes I'm really angry at the Holy Roman Empire from 2,000 years ago. And all of that just gets sucked in there, and then it can explode out at a really inopportune moment. So people who love us get scared, they don't understand, and they want to help us. And so if we're not coping well and doing something to process these emotions in a safe way, we can end up sort of forced into a mental health care treatment, diagnosis system, etc.
Right. Well, firstly, to have a daily practice is essential, or at least a regular practice is essential for grounding. And by grounding, I just mean sending my energy down, like the popular image is imagining yourself as a tree, with roots going down into the earth and just sort of rooting you. Because as an empath, my energy is very open. That's the curse part. Super open. Like, it's just a natural way that I've been formed since I awoke, since I had a spiritual awakening. My field has just been extremely open. So with a lot of branches and tendrils feeling the space around me, I have to have, in equal measure, roots to keep me firm and solid and able to handle the energy that's being pulled in from my environment through the branches and the twigs and the leaves, and it's like mycelium. So I definitely have a grounding practice. Let's see what else. There's a lot of strategies I use for clearing off energy every day when I come home, or even during the day. And I love sea salt scrubs, sea salt baths. I love activated charcoal. That's the bomb. Either taking a capsule internally or having activated charcoal soap. Rinsing off in the shower is a great way to just rinse it all away. Wearing grounding stones like volcanic rock. Right now I'm wearing a lot of gold, and that feels very empowering because it's a more solar, masculine, active. And definitely wearing this chain around my neck, I can feel it. I've been wearing this for probably 5 months now, and I've always worn silver. And then I just recently was like, no, it's time to wear gold. It's time to get out of the lunar dominant energy and more into the solar, so to help balance me out. I appreciate wearing crystals on me in some way. Grounding stones, black stones, gray stones, milky quartz, amethyst, whatever works. And just feeling strong within myself is a necessary thing, especially if I know I'm going to be doing Reiki or going out into public, just walking along the street in downtown Fayetteville or wherever. I want to feel strong. So any kind of practice to strengthen sovereignty and strength is good. So meditation, of course, mantra, affirmation, all good practices. I'm trying to think if there's any particular one that I use most. I love to just walk barefoot on the ground or hug a tree. There's a lot of science out now about grounding and earthing and how literally if you stay grounded, you cannot have inflammation in your body, which, as most of us know at this point who are interested in health, inflammation is such a huge precursor to disease, cancer, whatever. And so I liken that to emotional inflammation as well. Mm-hmm. So if I stay grounded and spend as much time in nature as possible, or surrounding myself with plants in my home, then that is very helpful. Staying alone, like making time to be alone in a closed room, with a closed door, just me and maybe my cat. But definitely solitude is of the utmost importance after groundedness for me. Mm-hmm. I love to use sage. I love to use yerba santa. I love to burn incense, all with natural smells, of course, because can't handle the artificial fragrances. That kind of is the opposite of what
I would say yes to all of that. There were a couple I hadn't really heard of. I'm not super familiar with the activated charcoal, so I'm going to look into that. And I use Epsom salts, but I'm going to try some sea salts and see how that feels. Mm-hmm. Definitely about the stones and jewelry and certain items of clothing. I've come up with little symbolic things that, for instance, I have a certain scarf, and it's not a heavy scarf, so I can wear it without getting too hot. And if I don't really want to take on too much stuff, I can put this, I created it as a symbol, and I say, okay, I'm going to put this scarf on, and that's helping to veil me from picking up too much, and it's also to help shield me or veil me from being too seen or understood. If I'm feeling too open and I don't want people to think I'm a big fat weirdo because I'm using words or emoting or, vibrating at a certain frequency that's kind of just weird for a certain group of people, I could put this scarf on, and I imagine and believe and intend that it helps to veil, put a buffer between them and myself. So, mm-hmm. And as I said, I had a list that I wrote yesterday. I think some of this came up already, but just to run through the list: avoidance, that, in the healthy way, choosing the solitude that Regina was just speaking of, choosing the meditative practices. But also there's the dysfunctional forms of avoidance where people just don't show up when they need to, and don't perform or deliver in ways that they're expected to. There's intoxication. This could look like self-medication, or this could look like getting a diagnosis and a prescription. Either way, there are substances that can shut this stuff down. And there's no shame if you need this shut down and you go to a doctor and you get it shut down for a while. You can reopen your gifts when you're better capable of dealing with them. So do use caution. If you're self-medicating, maybe find a naturopath that you can trust if you're not into the psych field. Okay, and then there's so some of the coping strategies that didn't come up in the conversation yet, I think caretaking. If I'm with you and you're in a crappy mood, I'm going to do whatever I can to make you feel better. So I'm going to wind up giving you service. I might feel called to a healing or a service field because I need you to feel better so that I feel better. So I might be caretaking all kinds of people. At one point I realized I was caretaking everyone in my life, and there was nothing left for me. That kind of bleeds into healing and serving, whether it's for individuals or for groups. This comes up in a lot of careers. We feel called to change the world because we can't stand living in it. This is also connected, leading or influencing the field. If you work with groups of people regularly, like in management or in some kind of professional capacity, and you're in the same group of people, let's say on a team, if you can somehow lead or influence the emotional field of that group of people, then you can make it more enjoyable to be in. So maybe you become the class clown, maybe you become the boss. You do whatever it takes within your career or your sphere of influence to try to gain control of this field, this collective field. And that works sometimes, but not always. And then boundaries and shields. I've read and practiced a really wide variety of, kind of like what I was just saying with the scarf, to make a veil. Putting yourself inside a semi-permeable pink bubble of love, and only love can flow through, and things like that you've probably heard of. If you're watching this video, it's because you've already heard of that. And then there's various forms of assertiveness and control. If I can dominate you and create your emotional experience, then I don't have to feel the ones that I have decided aren't welcome. So that's similar to the leading and influencing the field, but I think assertiveness and control probably involves a smaller audience. So if I can dominate you, then I can influence the emotions that you're feeling and keep that within a range.